Very nice to meet you.
It's nice to meet you too.
I have thoroughly enjoyed reading about you, and when I visited your Facebook page today, I loved kind of the series of 3 that you posted just a few days ago. Gorgeous.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And, my name's Regina. I'm one of the 9 commissioners who sit on the Washington State Women's Commission. I'm also one of the people who had the good fortune of receiving the T-shirt with the graphic design that you did last year that captured,
Awesome.
that captured a number of women of color in different skin tones in commemoration of women's right to vote. So I felt very honored that we were the early recipients of that particular piece of your work. So thank you. So how would you say young women of color have reacted to your art, and how might you have worked with them? How might you have worked with them in terms of tying the empowerment of women of color to kind of current events?
I would say that I have young women of color and women of color in general have DM'd me and messaged me and said that they can see themselves in my artwork. And I feel like that is definitely one of my goals. To actually hear that is very inspiring to me, and inspires me to want to continue to create and continue to work towards empowering women of color, young women of color, all women of color. Yeah.
Awesome. I had an opportunity to look through several of your pieces, and they're gorgeous.
Thank you.
So for those of you who are in, kind of have joined the call, I'm a little bit older, so I am primarily a Facebook user, but I noticed on your Facebook, the way folks could go view your art is it's Art Works with an E by Maya. So Art, WERKS by Maya. Do you have a different
I do.
username for Instagram?
Oh yes. So for my Instagram, I'm known as the number 21 and then entities. And then my website is also the number 21 and then entities as well.
Tell us where that name stems from.
So I did a lot of research for this name. The number 2 is the divine feminine. The number 1 is a leader. And then entity, we're all entities, we're all beings, we're all humans. So that's where the name came from.
What a meaningful name. You know, everything that you just described, particularly the we are all humans, would feel to me to tie very much in with the moment in time we're in, relative to the equal treatment of all. And when you describe the divine feminine, I have usually heard that term used in the context of political discussions. And so I wonder just how you feel like the historical political environment or the political environment today, or kind of the women's movement, inform what you do.
I feel like everything in general comes together and forms what I do. I'm inspired by women who speak up about what they believe in and what they stand for, and women throughout history who have spoken up for what they believed in and implemented change into the system.
I mostly was just wanting to know kind of how politics have informed your work, if at all, and how this current moment in time informs any work that you either are currently doing or might do in the future.
When you're talking about what's happening right now, you're talking about the protests that are happening and.
Correct, and the police brutality, and in general, the differential treatment applied to people of color, particularly men of color, relative to the greater body.
Right. So I would say first and foremost that I think that the protests are necessary for change. and that we as Black people are just tired of being murdered by the very people who are supposed to protect us. Yes, I said it. I also
and you feel very comfortable saying so.
I also feel as though my art is less influenced by politics and more influenced by just women in general who want to speak up and out about what they believe in. And I also think in terms of like what's happening right now in the world, and not even in the world, but in America, I think that we need changes in all the police departments. I am using my time to speak about this right now, but I also feel like we need accountability and cultural change in the police departments in general. That's just how I feel about it. But yeah,
I think most of us would agree with you. I have just kind of one more formal question, which ties in to the point that you just made. And then it looks like we have several people in the chat box who may have questions that they want to share through Dania. And so Maya, you mentioned change and women using their voices for change. And I know this is a big year relative to that. And women using their voice through the vote. And I wonder if you have had any or many discussions with women in your age group about voting. And I'm going to stop with my multi-pronged question so you can actually keep up with them. So, so have you had an opportunity to speak with other young women about voting, and or what is your feeling about voting?
Yes. So for me, I would say one of my best friends is an activist, and she's very much so, she's super into politics. And I had a conversation with her about voting, and she feels that it's super important, as well as I do. I feel like voting is extremely important because it's how we get laws and policies that we believe in place. It's also our constitutional right, and as well as some people are actually trying to make it harder for brown and Black communities to vote. So that's also that's something that's really happening right now.
A couple more questions in the chat. So this one is from Nicole McGrath. And she said, hi, Maya. What forms of art, the medium, do you like to use to create your artwork?
I love that question. I started off using pen and ink, and then I went from pen and ink to watercolor to acrylic paint, which is what I use now. I paint mostly on canvases, and I also dabble a little bit with oil as well, but mostly with acrylic for sure.
Okay, so acrylic would be your preferred medium.
Yes, definitely.
Like. Okay, and then from looks like Madeline Bloch or Bloch. I'm sorry if I butchered your name.
That's my friend.
Awesome. And she asks, how does spirituality influence your work, and is this tied to your identity in any way?
Yes, spirituality definitely affects and is tied to my artwork in many ways. I implement many elements of spirituality into my artwork. I have a piece called Creation where this woman is holding a mini, like a version of a woman, but the universe is inside her. And that's like a form of spirituality to me. So for me, spirituality is a huge deal when it comes to my artwork. A lot of my pieces are focused on that for sure.
We noticed that you paint primarily women. And can you talk about how women influence your artwork?
Yes. Let me find that card first. Okay, so for me, I feel, and this is just how I feel, 110%. I feel as though the presence of a woman, of a strong, confident woman, can move mountains. So with that said, I'm talking about a woman who is able and willing to speak up about what she believes in. And we have had many women like that throughout history. Those women really influenced my art. And I feel like it's important to speak up about what you believe in, because that is exactly what I am trying to do through my art by empowering women. I'm speaking up for us, by us, all that good stuff. Yeah.
I think many of us who've entered these careers, and I think particularly those of us on the Women's Commission, feel very similarly. We too have been inspired by other women and want to be at the forefront of working to support other women, and we are grateful to have allies like you in that work. Juliana asks an additional question. She says, great, thank you. And then says, who are your role models, the specific women in history who've inspired you?
I think the first person I have to mention, because I was named after her, is Maya Angelou. She really, that woman was so inspiring to me, is still so inspiring to me, as well as women like Harriet Tubman, Rosa Parks, Angela Davis. There's so many different people. And for me especially, I feel like one person that's really inspired me, and this is probably out of the blue, but Eartha Kitt has really inspired me because of the love that she had for herself. I feel like that to me is just a tremendous, it's just amazing. Like, oh my God, the way that she loved herself, that's goals. 110%, that is goals.
Absolutely, particularly during a time when other people did not honor the standard of beauty that she has, and where I think it was harder to be as confident and as in love with yourself as she was.
Right.
So that's awesome that she is among your heroes.
Maya, this is Michelle. What sort of barriers do you see for women loving themselves, expressing themselves, either through art or other means? What do you think the barriers are?
For me, one of my biggest barriers was definitely bullying. Like, I can't even tell you how bad I was. I was bullied pretty bad. I was bullied for my dark skin. I was bullied for my natural hair, but I overcame all of that. You know, I know that I am beautiful. I don't need anyone to tell me that I'm beautiful because I already have that knowledge. So I would say one of the biggest barriers would be bullying, because I know for a fact that it still happens today. It still happens. It's still around. And I feel like that's another reason why I create, to diminish that. Yeah.
I loved when I read the article earlier where, again, you talked about really doing your art in part to encourage women to be comfortable in their own skin and to really know that they belong here no matter what others might say. So I really appreciate that you affirmed that in the comment that you just made. And there are so many that can benefit from that role modeling. Karen has another question. She asks, do you think of yourself as a Black artist? And if you do, what does Black artist mean to you?
I definitely do. I feel like for me as a Black artist, it means that I have to try my best to implement change with my art, with the talent that I've been given. I feel like if you are Black, you have to do it, what you can to create change, especially in a society that is going to try to tear you down. I feel like that's definitely something that needs to happen. But that's just my opinion. It might not be everybody's opinion, it's just my opinion, but yeah.
Your opinion and your thoughts are what we're here to elicit. So no qualifiers necessary. So Linda Lowry says, how do you currently seek out opportunities, and highlights women helping other women? And I have to believe that that's in part Linda asking, how can we support you?
So I seek out opportunities by going to websites like Artist Trust and Call for Entry. But they always have plastered on their website new opportunities for artists. So I'm always going there checking out to see if there's anything that I can enter my art into, any galleries that need new artwork, anything that I can possibly do. So that's definitely the way in which I do that. But in terms of how women can help me, I think word of mouth, getting the word out there about me and my artwork.
And directing people to your website.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yes.
Awesome. So Linda asks, how can we support you? And what I heard Maya say is, please direct people to her website, which is also her Instagram channel, and really help promote her work that way. I see that a question that comes from the Full Women's Commission is, how does the art creation process look like for you? And do you start with a particular idea in mind?
Yeah, so I always start with like a particular idea. So one of the pieces that I recently did has a man and a woman in it. And I focus a lot on the connection between the two, as well as implementing elements of the nature and the universe in there, which is something that I always do. And spirituality, of course. We got to throw a little bit of spirituality in there every single time. But yeah, I think the creation process is having an idea, sketching it out, making the sketch into a painting, and then solidifying the painting. It's pretty simple, honestly, if you think about it. It's just very simple, yeah.
Do you have a kind of average time frame for what it takes from concept to completion? Or can you maybe get a concept 1 year and not actually develop it and, for some extended period of time?
So for me, I'm very fast at creating artwork. And I'm notorious for being very fast at creating artwork. So a painting can take anywhere from a couple hours to a couple days.
Okay.
Depending on how big it is, of course. A drawing is like a couple hours, honestly. And this is why I love doing what I'm doing, because I can create fast, move on to the next piece, and then continue creating.
It sounds like you've gotten really, really far in what feels like a somewhat short period of time, given your age. But we are all so inspired by you, and I'm really grateful that you took the time. It looks to me like we've ended up with 20 or more people, so that says a lot about their interest in you. I will tell you, having hosted things like this before, 2:00 in the afternoon is a difficult time to have 20 participants. So again, I think that says a lot about you and how people are inspired by your work, and we're inspired to want to hear more from you. So thanks so much for taking the time with us.
Of course.
All right, and
Thank
please
you,
stay
Maya.
in touch. Please stay in touch.
Of course.
All right.
Of course.
Take care.